Well, hello, hello. Happy Friday. Welcome to this week's episode of History Behind the Page, the live series where you get to know more about people behind all your favorite history pages, channels, anything history related. Appreciate you joining us this evening. Tonight's guest, I'm very excited. We have Eric from What's History Official. So we will get him on here in just a second. I'm excited to chat about history. I actually discovered him on TikTok and was super happy he started an Instagram so I could pick his brain. So we'll get him on here in just a sec. Just a few things. This is a live Q&A, so you are more than welcome to ask questions. The only thing I ask is that on the bottom right-hand corner of your screen, there is a little question mark bubble. Please submit your questions there as they get lost in the comments, and we don't want them to get lost, so we can get to as many questions as we can. So let me get Eric. Jeez, my fingers are a little greasy. Hey!
Hey, how's it going?
Good, how are you?
I'm doing good. So you can see me okay, you
Are
can
you
hear
there?
me okay.
I can, yeah. Oh, I was like, why can't I hear him? It's because my volume's down on my
Oh,
phone. I was like, what? How are you today?
I'm doing good.
Good, good. Thanks so much for coming on and joining all of us. And yeah,
Yeah, of course.
so awesome. Well, let's get this rodeo on the road. So why don't you tell us a little bit about how, well, not a little bit, just tell us how you got into history.
Um, it's a good story. Um, I've always really liked history.
Mm-hmm.
Um, my my grandfather fought in World War II,
Mm-hmm.
and so my dad would watch a lot of history documentaries about World War II. And
Mm-hmm.
so I remember being like a little kid and watching them with him, which might have been
Mm-hmm.
maybe not appropriate for like a 5-year-old or something.
Yeah. Well.
Um, but and so I remember really liking history
Mm-hmm.
because of that. And then like in fifth grade, going over Revolutionary War history and learning about that. And then it kind of just snowballed.
Snowballed from there.
Yeah.
Did any like specific topic learning in school or anything get you into history besides the Revolutionary War? Or was there something that's like history? That's my thing.
Yeah. I feel like it was just like, I like a lot of things.
Mm-hmm.
Like my college degree isn't actually in history, it's biology, but um, um, I really liked history.
Mm-hmm.
And that was always kind of the thing I went back to, but I knew I didn't want to be like a high school teacher or something.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but then I was like, I really like history. I like talking about history. My family doesn't like to listen to me talk about history. I'm going to start talking about it on the internet.
Talking about that there, and that's how. And you started on TikTok.
Yeah.
Yeah. And how long have you been on TikTok for?
It's been about a year now, um, which really went by quick because I don't know. I feel like it wasn't that long ago, but
Yeah. So you on your channel, you don't do just one niche of history. You do like a whole parameters. And how do you like how do you decide like what interests you and what to share and all that stuff?
um, a lot of it is I'm reading a book at the time,
Hmm.
and so it's like you can definitely tell like, oh, he's reading a book about Vietnam or he's reading a book about Russia or something, or World War II because I'm like,
Hmm.
I'll make like, I don't know, a whole bunch of videos specifically about that.
Yeah.
A lot of times though, it's like I'll be watching something or I'll be listening to a podcast or watching a documentary, or I'll just think of something random and be like, oh, like, I don't know, like today I talked about the 40 elephants, which were
Uh-huh.
a like a criminal syndicate of all women in England. And
Wow.
it's like, I don't know, it's super random. They lasted like 200 years, which is way longer than most gangs.
Yeah. Well, you know.
Yeah. And it's like, I heard of that, like, I don't know, maybe a year ago or something. I heard of them. And then
Hmm.
I just kind of like, well, random, I make a list. I make big giant lists of everything that like
Hmm.
new I hear about history. And then I'll go back and like, go like,
Yeah.
oh, I want to learn about them some more.
Yeah. And then we all go on those beloved rabbit holes, and then you find more things along the way, and then your list gets bigger and bigger and bigger.
Hmm. Exactly.
That's awesome. What made this is a random question because uh, what made you talk about the Roman toilets? What? How did you get on that?
um, so that's a good question. I think I was reading an article on Smithsonian.com or something.
Uh-huh.
Uh, I don't remember, but I just saw that and I was like, that's really random. I'm going to talk about that because that's funny.
Yeah. No, it's super weird. One little ball stick to wipe your yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, gross. Oh, well, I mean, we've progressed, so thank thank God for toilet paper
yeah,
and flushing toilets. So
yeah, that's for sure. If you guys don't
so
know
what?
what we're talking about, go watch the video of my channel
Yeah,
after this.
there's yes. Go watch the video on Roman toilets. It's very interesting.
Hmm.
And I'm just gonna say very interesting. You guys need to go watch it. So I didn't know that too. I learned so much from your channel, and I found you on TikTok first because you didn't have an Instagram for a while.
Yeah, I only started it maybe 5 months ago, something like that.
Has it only been 5 months? That's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I was just like, who is this guy? Because those your style of the way that you do your content is so intriguing, and you can't help but stop and be like, what is he talking about?
Hmm.
And what made you decide on that style?
Um, so what's funny is I'd never had TikTok before.
Mm-hmm.
I always wanted to do YouTube because
Mm-hmm.
I love YouTube. I've been watching YouTube for like, a decade or however long it's been
Yeah.
around for since
Yeah.
2006. But I was like, that's scary, frankly. Like that's a lot of
It is
work.
a lot of work. Yeah.
Yeah. And I was like, TikTok, like I only have to do like 30 seconds for a video. Like I'll just try that
Mm-hmm.
out. And so I downloaded it, and then within like a week, I just started making videos. Um, and so I was just like, okay, so I have to figure out how to fit in something into that short of a period of time.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I don't know, I talk really fast, and I have a picture of my background,
Yeah.
but
Well, you're very entertaining and you're very eye-catching, which is what drew me to your page because well, it's actually funny on my I don't have TikTok anymore, but on my For You page or whatever, I was like flipping and like six of your videos in a row came up and it was what's this map? What map is this? What's this map? And I was like, I need to know who this guy is. So then went on your page and started watching your things. I was like, this guy's awesome. Just, is there a specific like I know you're kind of like all history, but is there like a specific thing that just interests you that you would say like, for me, I guess World War II is my thing, but I'm branching out up into the War on Terror, but World War II is like my one thing. Is there something like that for you?
I would say American history um,
Mm-hmm.
I think about that more. I learn about that a lot more. World War II is quite a bit, as well as like the Revolutionary War are still
Mm-hmm.
kind of like my two things I really like. But yeah, I've been trying to branch out more and more. And I don't know. There's so much history. It's hard to actually learn all the history there is.
Yeah. So you said your grandfather served in World War II?
Yeah, well, both of them did, but
Mm-hmm.
one of them served in combat in uh, Europe.
And one served in combat in Europe. What was he in the army? Was
Yeah, so he was in the 188th Artillery Field Artillery Group in the
mm-hmm.
Army.
Oh wow. Well, that's crazy. So were you able to hear stories from him or anything?
So he died before I was born,
Oh,
but I have like journals and then like family stories and stuff.
and all that stuff. Oh, that's awesome. And then what did your other grandfather do?
So when he was a teenager is when the war started. I think he was 15 or something, and he tried to join the Marines, and they let him, and then they found out that he was too young right before he was going to go to Guadalcanal.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
so he didn't have to deal with that. And then he went back and finished high school, and then I think at 17 he joined, and then he fixed aircraft.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, that's pretty cool. So, if you could meet one person in history and have dinner with them for a night, I know this is such a cheesy question, but I actually really enjoy it because some people you think they would say one thing and they say something completely opposite. So, who would it be?
Um, that's hard. I feel like I would switch it depending on who I'm like thinking about a lot more.
Mm-hmm.
Um, because I don't know, one of the founding fathers probably, maybe John Adams or Thomas Jefferson or
Mm-hmm.
George Washington,
Mm-hmm.
um, just because we have a lot of information on Patton or
Yeah.
Eisenhower, right? But we don't
Mm-hmm.
have all that information, all that much information about them as people from back
Yeah.
then. Like a lot more than Julius Caesar or something, obviously.
Yes.
But
Yeah.
um, yeah, probably one of them, and just kind of part of me would be like Thomas Jefferson. What was the whole, you
Mm-hmm.
know, everyone's created equal, but then you still have slaves, and obviously there's a lot of I don't know. There's a lot to that.
Mm-hmm.
Like it was illegal for him to free them. You know, it
Mm-hmm.
was an issue, but
Yeah.
um, yeah, I don't know. I feel like I would want to grill him a little bit, and then also be his friend.
Yeah. I know as history nerds or historians, history people, we're very curious and we like to ask a lot of questions. Not in a bad way. It's just very, very curious
Yeah.
about certain things. So you said you were gonna start a YouTube channel. Didn't you start a YouTube channel?
Oh yeah. So I started it. I don't know. It's only been a few months for that too, since
Mm-hmm.
December. Um, but I was like dipping my toes into TikTok because YouTube's like a lot more work. And
Mm-hmm.
then I started putting the shorts from TikTok over onto YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but since December, I've had full length content, um, which range from like a couple minutes long to I have one that's like 20 minutes long.
Mm-hmm.
Um, most of them are like 5-10 minutes though.
Yeah. So you majored in biology in college. Do you do biology now, or do you do history content full time?
Yeah, I'm trying to do this full time,
Mm-hmm.
so that's I got to start caring more about sponsors to really do that. But
I know. So much, so much work. So why don't you, if you had to pick one topic that you could tell us a little bit about that intrigues you in history, why don't you go ahead and do that?
um,
Like a story
well,
about something or whatever, anything.
so this week's video, it comes out tomorrow, is about
Mm-hmm.
books that I've read. So I read 163 books last year,
Mm-hmm.
which is just I don't know. That seems like a lot of books. I was really surprised when I went back and looked at it. Um,
Yeah.
but I mean, you might be like, oh, that's bush league. Look at
No,
all these
no, no,
books
no, I'm
behind me.
not. No, no.
Like, if
That's a
it's not a
lot.
book a
No, that's
day,
a
you're
lot.
not doing it right.
No, that's a lot of books to read in a year.
Yeah.
So,
But I think the Johnstown flood is just
mm-hmm.
super interesting.
Mm-hmm.
David McCullough has a book about it. Um, like that's not normally something I care very much about. I'm not like a storm chaser type of guy. Um, but it's just like so terrible where it's just like this dam breaks, a flood comes in, just wipes out like thousands of people.
Mm-hmm.
It's coal country, so there's lots of coal, and it all lights on fire. And so there's like a flood with fire, and there's trains in the water, and all the houses are floating. And there's a barbed wire factory, and the barbed wire all gets mixed up in it. And so there's like these islands of rubbish that's like on fire, and it's ugh,
Oh, that's crazy.
yeah.
I've never heard of that before. That that that's yeah. I wanted to ask you, how do you your map series?
Hmm.
How do you find these maps? How do you find out what they are and everything?
I mean, it's all over the place. Sometimes, a lot of times, I'm just looking up weird maps on the internet. Like in
Mm-hmm.
the beginning, I just typed in weird maps, and I'd go to like some stupid listicle from BuzzFeed or something, and I'd go through and I'd try and find a map that I thought was interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Most of them were dumb, but like there might be like one in there that's kind of cool.
Mm-hmm.
Um, since then, because I've done I don't know how many map videos at this point, um, it's trying to like find specific types of maps or weird maps, or, or sometimes I'll get inspiration from other people's videos. Where I saw
Mm-hmm.
one on TikTok the other day that was there are no rats in Alberta, Canada. There's no
How?
rats. Exactly. So I went and I found a map that showed that, and I did research about why that is. Since there's no native rat species to the United States or to the Americas, I guess, because it's Canada, there were no rats there till the 50s, and they and
How?
like it's in the middle of the country and it's freezing, I guess,
Yeah.
and there's not that many people that live out there, and so they're just super aggressive about killing all these rats. And so I have this stupid video about a map.
Oh my gosh, that's that
Yeah,
is so crazy. That'd be so interesting. But I guess, when an area gets a little bit more suburbanized or whatever, more things come with that. So
yeah,
that's that's so intriguing. Your page gets me down some weird rabbit holes.
yeah.
I just have to say. So are you really big into documentaries?
I would say so. Whether it's like a YouTube documentary or like a big one on Netflix or PBS or something, I definitely like myself some documentaries.
Yeah. What are some of your favorite? Actually, what are who are some of your um? who-
You're okay. You're okay.
I can't get my words out. What history channel, YouTube channels do you like?
Oh, I mean, there's so many of
What
them. I don't
what
want to leave
history
anybody
YouTube
out,
channels?
but
Yeah.
um,
Well, like,
I really love the travel ones.
mhm,
Like there's like History Underground, vlogging through history, walking with
mhm,
history. That I really want to do that at some point, but like obviously I need to get those numbers up a little bit so I can make
mhm,
enough money to go to Normandy or whatever.
mhm.
Um, and then there's like I mean there's Simple History, The History Guy. Um, I don't know. There's so many different ones.
Yeah.
Um, but at the same time, I feel like there's still so much space in it,
So much so much space.
which is like
I compl
why I wanted to do it because I was like, well, sure, people might talk about the Battle of the Bulge, which is my video from last week.
Mhm,
It's like it's not exactly how I would talk about it, or you know,
mhm.
obviously people love Band of Brothers, but they focus completely on uh, Foy and Baston. But it's like
Mhm.
it's a big battle. It's covering a lot of things.
Yeah.
Um, And so it's like, well, I want to talk about this part, or like my grandfather was, in this part of the Battle of the Bulge. So I want to talk about that part of the Battle of the Bulge more than
Mhm.
uh,
Yeah.
Elsinborn Ridge or something.
Exactly. Yeah. Band of Brothers definitely, piqued a lot of people's interest in World War II, but it was Band of Brothers is just a small part of like a bigger,
Hmm.
much bigger
Yeah,
scene, I guess, to say the least. So,
yeah.
um, what is one of your do you have like a favorite documentary that you watch on like Netflix or something, or one that you recently watched that you're like, oh, that was really good?
Um, so I've been watching a lot of the ones on Netflix recently because I'm trying to catch up and then cancel because, like, I don't know. There's not that much on Netflix that I like
Mm-hmm.
want to watch, except for history documentaries. So I'm trying to like
Yeah.
get get done and then cancel it because I got it so I could watch All Quiet on the Western Front.
Oh yeah.
Uh, um, and so I've been watching. I don't remember what it's called. It's British though. So it's like
Hmm.
they talk about the Battle of the Bulge, but like from the British perspective, which they
Hmm.
barely took part of it in.
Yeah.
Or like Dunkirk,
Mhm.
was the one I just watched a couple days ago. But I don't remember the name of it.
Yeah. So funny. There's so many good document. If you should get a Discovery Plus subscription because they have the history, not the History Channel, American Heroes Channel. They have
Okay.
a bunch of documentaries, that and the PBS one too. But yeah, Discovery Plus has like 6 different TV state channels within it. But yeah, they have some really, really great documentaries on there. And Prime, shockingly, not shockingly, Prime actually has some really, really good documentaries on there
Okay.
too as well. So, but yeah, if you don't want to pay for Netflix, because they don't have that many great documentaries. They have like, the basics. Well, they just came out with World War II in color, I think is what it was called. Um, it came out like last year, I think it was. But it was really, really good. But watching it, for being such a big production, they got a few things wrong that was like had me yelling at the TV. I'm like, that is incorrect.
Yeah.
Like, that is, come on, didn't you do your research? But yeah, definitely check out like Prime and Discovery Plus because I'm always talking about the show called Against the Odds on American Heroes Channel on Discovery Plus,
Okay.
and it seriously is one of the best. I've watched it so many times, so many times. It's only 2 seasons, which makes me really sad, but they talk about um, so many things, and that's how I found out about the combat engineers in World War II. I'm obsessed about. They do the Peleliu, they do the Korean War and at the Chosin Reservoir, and they do a whole broad type of thing, and it's narrated by Rob Lowe, so you can't like not like it.
Hmm. I,
But
I've
yeah,
seen a couple episodes of that. So I should watch the rest of it
yeah,
because
it's
back when I had cable a long time ago and it was called the Military Channel, I used to watch that all
yeah.
the time.
You, I remember that channel. I haven't thought about that channel for so long.
Yeah, because then they switched it to American History or American Heroes Channel or network, whatever.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, so I definitely should get Discovery Plus. Um,
you should definitely. What was I just gonna ask? This question I keep meaning to ask you, and then I think of something else, and then that's how my brain works. I wanted to ask who your favorite president is.
um, I feel like it's hard to say like overarching because they all had such different types of presidencies,
Yeah.
or like eras. Because it's like from World War II onward, it's hard to even classify them as the same as early American presidents,
Mm-hmm.
or those guys in the middle everyone forgets about. Um,
Yeah.
I think I think for early American presidents, obviously George Washington and Thomas Jefferson,
Mm-hmm.
and then you have like Lincoln later on,
Mm-hmm.
are just like the obvious ones. I think Truman doesn't get enough attention,
Mm-hmm.
um, because um, it's like everybody talks about FDR and World War II, and it's like,
Yeah.
yeah, he was there for most of it, but
Mm-hmm.
like Truman, David McCullough's book about Truman is so interesting,
Yeah.
because it's like he's like this normal dude who fails at a bunch of things and decides to like become a representative, and then he ends up becoming a senator, and then he only becomes vice president because the previous vice president was like a horrible racist or something, and they didn't want him to like be the vice president anymore because they knew
Yeah.
Roosevelt might die soon, and
Mm-hmm.
so they bring him in, and he's just like, oh hey guys, like I'm
What's
a
up?
dork. I'm like a dorky guy from the Midwest,
Yeah.
and then pretty soon FDR dies. And he's in charge, and then they're like, "Oh, there's nukes." Just so you know, like,
Yeah.
and,
Surprise.
yeah. And then he has to make that decision,
Mm-hmm.
which I think is the right decision, but it's also not an easy one.
Yeah.
Um, and then I think he probably should have been harder on like the Chinese Civil War and helped out with that more China become communist. But then he was like, oh, well, that's too late. Now I'll try and do Korea.
Mm-hmm.
I think the Korean War is super interesting, but
It's
hardly
very,
gets any.
it's the forgotten war.
Hmm.
That's my second thing that I'm super like passionate about. And like the way it's crazy how the end of World War II and how everything got split and rebuilding and everything, how we already were by the end of World War II leading up to the Korean War. We just
Hmm.
didn't know it yet. Um, and so, you know, it's one of those wars that they're like, we shouldn't have even been a part of it, but also we were rebuilding governments in different cities. The Soviets took the north, we took the south. Soviets wanted to build communism up there. We wanted to build a democracy down here, and then that happened. So, I mean, that would have sucked if we would have just been, peace out, guys. Have fun.
Yeah. Well,
So,
and it's, I mean, obviously it's a hard decision for any president to say, we're going to go to war. We're going
of
to
course.
go have like our soldiers die for someone else's freedom.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I think looking at how South Korea is compared to North Korea, like
Yeah.
you can't say that's a bad decision.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you've read the book In Order to Live by Yomi Park.
I haven't, no.
Um, I have it somewhere. All right, right here. um,
Oh.
she just read, or she just wrote a second one.
Mm-hmm.
She escaped from North Korea as a child, like a 12 or 13-year-old child. She escaped from North
Oh,
Korea.
wow.
And the story of her time in North Korea, absolutely terrible. Horrible, horrible, horrible.
Like
There's no,
what kind of stuff?
like, there's no food. So she ate grasshoppers, was like their amazing food. They're like grasshoppers, lizards, snakes. Um, and now there's no grasshoppers or lizards or snakes in North Korea because they ate them all. Um,
They made them extinct.
yeah, like there's almost no animals at all in North Korea because of that. Um, and it's just like that basic level of everyone's starving to death. It's
And
just
it
terrible.
and it's so crazy to think about how propaganda works and about how, I mean, every single country uses propaganda. Like, people think the
Mm-hmm.
United States doesn't use propaganda because we're, the good guys or whatever, but
Mm-hmm.
all of the World War II posters of come be a nurse,
Mm-hmm.
all of those things, those are all propaganda, well, recruiting posters, but the bomb the Japs or whatever, those are all propaganda posters, like they're star spangled
Yeah.
stuff. It's just not in a way that you would think that
Mm-hmm.
some places did, like, we weren't dropping pamphlets and stuff like that from airplanes like the Japanese was, but yeah, it's just very interesting. And then my whole point in that was, sorry, I got off topic. Like North Korea, you hear about them in the news, but what
Mm-hmm.
they put out is completely
Mm-hmm.
different than what's actually in. And so it's very,
Yeah.
very interesting about how propaganda works.
Mm-hmm.
And then you hear stories like hers where she's like, that's not how it is. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
But
And it's like to the point where for her, like the North Koreans have a kill order on her, and so they're actively trying to assassinate her because she talks about North Korea and actually has been there.
mm-hmm.
And obviously, the United States isn't perfect. We have propaganda. I mean, Smokey Bear is propaganda technically,
Yeah.
but you know, you also have to know who the good guys are. So,
That is very true. Um, Hold on, we have a question here. Oh, where did it go? What are your Where'd it go? This has happened to me on every single live where, first of all, it cuts me off. It just
mhm.
stops recording, and then the questions keep going away in the box. Well, I'll just read it from here. What are your top five favorite books?
um, that's hard to say. because there's just so many of them.
Mm-hmm.
um, one that I read recently um, that I think is good is, I think honestly, this In Order to Live is probably one of my favorite books.
Mm-hmm.
Um, David McCullough, I love David McCullough, Stephen E. Ambrose, obviously, like, the big ones. Um, um, All Quiet on the Western Front is probably one of my
Mm-hmm.
favorites. So when they came out with a movie, I was so excited for it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think A Farewell to Arms by Ernest Hemingway is really good.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of more history, The Rise and Fall of the Third Reich is a really good book, but
It
it's
is
hefty.
thick.
Yeah,
It's very thick. I had it
yeah,
at one point and it got lost somewhere. I don't know. But yeah, if you really want to dive deep into the Third Reich and learn a lot about that, that is a really good book. And actually a very highly recommended book from, I think, a lot of historians and everybody like that. So
yeah.
let me look comment. So, so what's next for you on TikTok? Like, what's your plans? What's your goals?
So I don't know. There's a lot of problems with TikTok, obviously, which is why you got off of it.
Yeah.
Um, I'm going to keep going. If they ban it, I guess they ban it. Um,
Mm-hmm.
my main thing is really trying to get better with YouTube, um,
Mm-hmm.
and make more full length content. I put all the, I make 5 videos a day. I only
Mm-hmm.
put like one or two of them on Instagram because I feel like that's how Instagram works. I don't know. I don't want to like fill someone's feed completely on Instagram, whereas on
Mm-hmm.
TikTok, it's so easy not to even see anyone's content.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Whereas like with YouTube, like it's there, but it's also not as noticeable.
Mm-hmm.
And so I put all of them on YouTube. So my main plan is I get, TikTok gets deleted or I get banned on TikTok, which is another big possibility. Um, YouTube and I don't know, Instagram is more fun in a lot of ways than TikTok in terms of actually being able to like talk to people more. Um, I think stories are a lot of fun on Instagram and they don't prioritize them on TikTok. Um, So I don't know. I keep doing TikTok. It makes me a
Mm-hmm.
tiny bit of money,
Yeah.
but
Actually, I was just scrolling through the comments and actually somebody put a question in the comments and I'll read it to you in just a second. And then also quick, if you guys do want to ask questions, there's a question mark bubble in the right-hand corner of your screen. You can submit your questions there so they don't get lost in the comments. Artie Ashka wants to know what your opinion on the U.S. withdrawal from Afghanistan in August of 21 was.
um, I mean, obviously, I have political opinions. I try not to keep them on it, but just
Mm-hmm.
generally, I mean, that was bad. That was not well done. Something that I feel like people didn't really talk about was how important Bagram Air Base is,
Mm-hmm.
just from like a geostrategic position,
Mm-hmm.
because it's within bombing range of Russia and China and Iran and obviously all the terror groups. Um, and I don't know. I feel like all the money of all the stuff that we left there, I mean, it was just not well done. And on top of that, if we were going to leave, I think, I don't know, not abandoning a bunch of people there probably would have been good.
Mm-hmm.
But
That is good. Hold on. There was another question here. That was actually a really good question. It was, yeah, very. Where did it go? Hello from Idaho. Hello.
we're part of
Let's see.
Idaho.
Yeah.
I lived there for, I don't know, a whole bunch of years.
All right. Okay. So let's talk. Let's talk movies.
Mm-hmm.
What are some of your top movies? history?
Um, hmm. I mean, there's a lot of good ones, and I feel like
Mm-hmm.
there's still so many stories left to be told. So
Mm-hmm.
I have lots of lists.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a list guy, so I have a big list of movies that should be made if I become a billionaire, and then I can make those. But um, I think Hacksaw Ridge was really good.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Band of Brothers, a show, but same kind of deal.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Obviously, Saving Private Ryan. Um, there was one. It was from the German perspective in World War II, and I think it might have been like a three-part series or something. It was like Our Fathers, Our Mothers, or something like that. I think is what it
Mm-hmm.
translated to.
Mm-hmm.
And it was basically like this group of friends. One of them was Jewish. One, there was a couple brothers.
Was was that on
I think
Netflix?
it was on Netflix.
I know what you're talking about, and I can't think of it. It didn't come out. It didn't come out that long ago.
No, it's not that old. It was super good though, because they were fighting the Soviets, so I didn't mind if
Mm-hmm.
they killed people. Whereas if they were killing the Americans, I'd be like, no. Um, but it was. I like seeing those different perspectives, and hmm, I don't know. There's some really good John Wayne ones.
I loved
Um,
John
you
Wayne.
know, then there's like Longest Day, uh,
Mm-hmm.
The Green Berets, John
Mm-hmm.
Wayne, Vietnam. That was a great movie.
Yeah.
Um, The Dirty Dozen, um, the John Adams series. I think that
Mm-hmm.
was HBO.
HBO. Yeah.
It's really
I haven't seen.
good.
I haven't seen it yet. And I know it came out a while ago. And Paul Giamatti is just amazing. But it's
Hmm.
I don't know why I haven't. I don't know why I haven't gotten around to it yet.
You got to get yourself to watch it because like it does
I
feel
know.
like a lot,
Mm-hmm.
but that was one of those ones that I had to actively not binge watch because I had other things I had to do. But like
Mm-hmm.
it's so good.
Yeah. So you said you mentioned All Quiet on the Western Front, the new version that came out
Hmm.
um, on Netflix, which is why you have Netflix. So what is your review of that movie?
Um, I definitely think it deserved the Oscars that it got. I felt like
Mm-hmm.
um, I don't know. There was obviously differences between that and the book, as well as the original All Quiet in 1920 something, 27, I want to say,
Mm-hmm.
which I think is super good, but you have
Mm-hmm.
to appreciate black and white movies that are really slow.
Yeah.
And so I like it, but other people might
Mm-hmm.
not. Um, but I like that they showed World War One. I think Americans don't pay that much attention to it, um, even though 100,000 or more, I don't remember how many, hundreds of thousands of Americans died in it, even though
Mm-hmm.
we were only involved for a short period of time.
Yeah.
Um, the deadliest battle in U.S. history with the Meuse-Argonne Offensive or Saint Michel was in World War One. And so it's like I really like seeing World War One,
Mm-hmm.
and we don't see a whole lot of it. Um,
Yeah. I feel like World War I is starting to get a little bit more light, just like the Korean War is.
mhm.
Once the They Shall Not Grow Old came out in
Oh, that was so
IMAX,
good.
I feel like that kind of gave a little traction to it because then we got 1917 out of it. We have All Quiet on the Western Front, and people don't realize, I think, because if I remember correctly in school, we didn't really learn that much about World War I that I can remember. We went straight from like Civil War to World War II, and then I think we skipped over Korea. So it's good that they're talking about, more World War I movies are coming out, and whether it's on the American, the German side or anything else.
Hmm.
I had family that fought in World War I. My It's gonna sound weird for my age, but my great uncle and my great grandfather fought in World War I. And my great uncle ended up being a POW.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and my great grandfather joined World War I to find his brother.
Okay.
But this was in we were Canadians. Part of my family's
Oh,
Canadian, so
Canadian, eh?
it
I was
was a
gonna
very,
say,
yeah,
it's like
it
there
was an
were
A.
American POWs, but we only got
Yeah,
like
but
6 months in that war.
I know, right? Yeah. So, yeah, All Quiet on the Western Front. I started to watch it, and I kept getting distracted from it. Is this a movie that you'd recommend for people?
Definitely. Um,
Mhm.
I think that you want to give yourself a few hours, and you got to be in the right mood. I feel like um, it's a lot easier for me to watch a YouTube video
Mhm.
a lot of times than a movie, and so I really have to like make the effort of like, okay, it is Saturday evening or it's Sunday or Friday or whatever. I have 3 hours. I'm gonna watch like this amazing movie that I've been wanting
Mhm.
to watch, but I've been putting off.
Mhm.
Um, and a couple YouTube channels that I forgot to mention before. Um, World War II. Um, I think it's just called World War II. I think they had it World War II in real time, and then the Great War. So it's the same
Mhm.
guys. They're incredible.
Mhm.
It's they do week by week of World War One and then World War II content 100 years later for World War One,
Mhm.
and I mean they're going into every little nitty gritty detail. They release like 3 or 4 videos a week, um,
Mhm.
and like their Pearl Harbor coverage was like 16 hours long or something.
Oh,
Um,
oh my
they did
gosh.
minute by minute Pearl Harbor, so it's the longest documentary ever made about Pearl Harbor just for that one day. Um, let alone like they're planning on like I don't know 24 hours for D-Day of just the entire time videos.
Mhm. Well, I mean, that's going to be good for people learning because, nowadays we like to watch things instead of read things.
Yeah.
And when you have people who are talking about it and are interacting and seeing the sites and all that stuff, that's why YouTube is so great and history travelers and all that stuff. I had no idea that existed until about 2 years ago. I was like, people do this? This is so crazy. Like, this is
Mm-hmm.
amazing. And it's what actually got me back into my history passion. So I lost it for a long time. But so going back to World War I, because I want to talk about that. You said what was the deadliest battle?
um, so don't get mad at me in the comments if I get it wrong. So I think the Meuse Argonne offensive is the depending on how you classify battle, but it might have
Mm-hmm.
been or Saint Michel. I don't
Yeah.
remember exactly, but I know that it has there's more deaths
Mm-hmm.
than any other battle.
I mean, in World War I, it was trench war.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how scary is that? You A whistle blows or a trumpet blows or a gun goes off and you just go on
Yeah,
over, and most of them were dead before they could get out of the, the trenches.
yeah,
So it's just
like yeah. Of all
yeah.
the wars, I mean, I'd want to choose the more recent ones because better technology and medicine. But I
Hmm.
would not want to be in World War One.
I wouldn't either. And it's funny when you hear, I can't remember who I asked about this, but I said if you could serve in any war, which one would it be? And their main hub is World War I, and they go, not World War I. They go, I'd rather serve in the Civil War than World War I. And I thought that was fascinating because things have progressed from the 1860s to the 1910s, but
Yeah.
just very very different dynamics. So, what war would you want to?
Um, I mean, just in terms of being able to survive and you
Let's
know,
let's say that, yeah, that,
let's
yeah,
say I
just,
survive the war, I don't lose
yeah.
anything.
Hmm.
Um, I don't know. I think I love World War II. Um, the Revolutionary War is really interesting, and I have ancestors that fought in it, so I kind of would like to see what that would be. Um,
Hmm.
but then at the same time, um, I don't know. I think I got to say World War II, I guess, just because
Yeah.
it's World War II.
Hmm. Yeah. No, I totally understand. Actually, this just brought up the next question that I always ask that I always keep forgetting. If you could witness one historical moment in time, just witness it, like nothing would happen or anything to you, just
Mhm.
witness it from start to finish or anything, what would it be and why?
Um, so I'd probably say the signing of the Declaration of Independence,
Hmm.
um, just because I mean all of American history, but also just world history in general, being the
Hmm.
first free people, and even though it's not the they weren't perfect, we still aren't perfect, whatever. But like the idea of all men are created equal, we have inalienable rights, a group of people
Hmm.
who are signing their death warrants or
Hmm.
their freedom.
Hmm.
Um, I think it was really special. And even if you're not an American,
Hmm.
I think that it's still like, for those Canadians, even though you're in America now, but
I'm in
like,
America, yeah.
but like, if you live anywhere in a country that has a republic or a democracy,
Hmm.
you have that document to thank because without it, none of the other revolutions would have happened. Um,
Hmm.
like, I mean, even like Simon Bolivar down in South America.
Hmm.
So he created Gran Colombia and freed, that area from Spain. He got help and support and inspiration from the American Revolution. Um, and so, or Bernardo Higgins or the French Revolution, all of those comes back to the
Hmm.
American Revolution.
Hmm.
Um, so, yeah, I'd say Declaration of Independence.
Declaration of Independence.
And then I turn it over, see if there's anything secret, some.
Call Nick Cage. Put some lemon on it with some
Yeah.
Q-tips. Such a good movie, Seal the Declaration of Independence. I would love, not love, I would be very fascinated to see the whole events of Pearl Harbor,
Mm,
um, because that catapulted us and that made us join World War II, which World War II for us changed so much now into current history,
mm-hmm.
and same with other conflicts too. And it's just, I mean, you see footage online, but just imagine seeing that in person. That would be
Yeah.
very, very fascinating. Sad, very sad,
Mm-hmm.
but very fascinating. So, what are you reading right now?
Um, so I'm reading, I think it's just called Romanovs, but it might be Family Romanov
Mm-hmm.
about the czars, right? As like the
Mm-hmm.
Soviets or the Bolsheviks come in and, kill everybody and ruin everything.
Yeah.
I just started it because I just finished another book um, the other day. And so it's like, I'm right at the beginning. I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
I have you ever used Libby, the app Libby?
Mm-mm.
Oh, it is the best app. So
What is
you
it?
connect your library card to
Mm-hmm.
it, and now you have access to just tens of thousands of ebooks and audiobooks. And so it's like instead of
With
having
just your library card?
yeah, so it's like you just your city library card. If you have
Mm-hmm.
access to a school for any students out
Mm-hmm.
there, or people working at a school, or
Mm-hmm.
in my case, stealing it or using it legally from a friend to be
Yeah.
able to access their library because it's so big.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but like it just has so much stuff, and so instead of having to buy every single book,
Mm-hmm.
um, you can. And I really love audiobooks because you can be
Mm-hmm.
doing other things as you're listening to it, or if I'm
Yeah.
if I'm driving across the country or something, you just put on a couple audiobooks and you're good to go.
Mm-hmm. I I love audiobooks too, but recently what I started doing in the past year, and I don't do it often, but have you ever listened to an audiobook while reading at the same time?
Um, I've done it somewhat, but
It's
not
very
normally.
it's very fascinating about how much you obtain and not obtain, but I guess understand
somebody recommended it to me, and when I started doing it, I was like, no, this is weird. But then it's weird. It's like it's somebody's reading you a book, but you're visualizing it, and then you're also listening to it. So I recommend anybody out there try it one time. If you don't like it, sorry, but it's it was a very. I think I did it with what was it? What was Dick Winter's book? I did it with Biggest Brother, one of the books about Dick Winters, but it was so
Yeah.
intriguing. It was very fun. But yeah, audiobooks are great. So it's called Libby.
Libby. Yeah.
Libby.
It's like, and if you have a Kindle or if you do anything, I
Hmm.
think you can connect the books to it. I've never done that, but I'm pretty sure you can bring them over. Um,
Hmm.
but I've read so many books.
Yeah.
Almost all the books that I've read in the past like 2 years have been using Libby. And then if they don't have it, then I have to go find it somewhere else. Um, and it's just like a normal library where you can put something on hold,
Hmm.
and then it'll just give you a little thing on your phone being like, your hold is ready for
Hmm.
Blitz or whatever book. And
Yeah.
and it's fun because it feels like someone's giving you a book like as a present,
Hmm.
but it's
Yeah.
it's free and
And that's actually cool. And so you can use, I mean, it's for anybody across the United States as long as you have a library card.
yeah. And it's like, I mean, my local library, which isn't that big,
Hmm.
connects to it, and then you have access to like, I don't know, it's endless, honestly. And obviously, we're talking about history, but it has every book,
Yeah,
basically.
exactly. Yeah. Whatever you want. That's actually really cool. I didn't know that. Because there are some books I just don't want to buy. I'd rather check out and read
Hmm.
before I, make the purchase. But
Yeah.
Libby, that's really cool. So you're reading the Romanovs or the Romanov family,
Hmm.
right? What made you want to read about them?
I've been going down a rabbit hole on Russia
Hmm.
lately. Um, that because I mean they're kind of like our main enemy, I guess, for the past 100 years. But I have a book. I got it a long time ago. It's from 1890 or something. It's called
Hmm.
like Our Best Friends Russia. I don't remember the exact title. Um,
Hmm.
but I read that when I was like 15, and I was just like, oh, that's so interesting. And then, but you know, it's been quite a while since then. But I've just been
Hmm.
getting back into all this Russian stuff, especially as the Russian-Ukraine war
Hmm.
is happening, and so I've just been, I don't want to say learning my enemy or something, but like
No,
trying
I
to
get it.
understand them as people.
Well, it's just like reading the Rise and Fall of the Third Reich.
Hmm.
It's the same exact thing. You're reading different perspectives, or in that sort of way. So, I have one last question for you because this is for people who, if somebody wants to get started creating a history, Instagram, TikTok, what are some recommendations that you have for them?
So the first thing is just start doing it
Hmm.
because um, people will probably be kind of scared to start it. People are going to see it,
Hmm.
whatever. But honestly, you just start and you figure out if you like it.
Hmm.
I have a lot of friends that they'll start, they'll make 5 videos, and they'll go, actually, I don't actually care about this like enough to
Hmm.
keep doing it. And then be consistent. If you do start it, trying to do it every day or every week or depending on what type of content you're doing,
Hmm.
and you'll get better as time goes on. The like if you scroll all the way down to my first
Hmm.
TikToks, they're terrible. And even my TikToks now aren't like awesome, but like
They're amazing.
you know, and I think the nice thing about TikTok or Instagram, but most especially with TikTok, is that the barrier to entry is so low and nobody expects you to be awesome. Like, because one of the things with YouTube is that there is a certain level that they expect at this point. Like
Hmm.
these YouTubers that are making like millions of dollars and they have like these crazy $10,000 cameras and
Hmm.
research teams and stuff, but it's like you don't need that, and you don't need that on YouTube either. Um, I do all of my recording with this iPhone 10R or whatever. Like it's not, but it's like at least on my end, this looks pretty good right now, and especially when it's not live over
Hmm.
the internet. Um,
Yeah.
like you just start with whatever you have. I bought like a little, I don't know, it was like a $30 microphone, and that helps. And so it's just like just little bit by little bit,
Hmm.
trying to make it better.
Yeah. Definitely stay consistent and just, post what you want to post. So, this hour wrapped up early. This is the time that I get kicked off of Instagram. It just doesn't like me. It's like she's been talking too long. So why don't you tell everybody where they can find you? Where can they find What's History?
So the best place is probably YouTube, just because I have all the best
Hmm.
content there.
Hmm.
But obviously, if you guys are watching it on Instagram, Instagram is good. If you're a TikTok type person, check out TikTok. But we
All
don't know how long that's going
right.
to last. But
Exactly.
I'm basically everywhere. I keep meaning
Hmm.
to make a Facebook, but I haven't bothered to do that yet because it's
It's
Facebook.
not worth it. Yeah. So, Eric, thank you so much for joining us and chatting with us for this hour of history behind the page. You guys can find him at What's History on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. And I will put all of his stuff in the comments when this reposts, which will be on Instagram and then on my YouTube channel too. It'll be available in the next day or two for you to watch as well. I want to thank you all for joining and asking questions and listening to us chat. And Eric, thank you so much for coming on. I was so happy that you said yes. So,
Of course, anytime. This has been a lot of fun.
all right, awesome. Everybody have a great evening. And Eric, thank you again so much.
Yeah.
All right,
Bye,
bye,
everybody.
everybody.